So I've gotten some questions about how I process my images. This is going to be a dual narrowband processing. I shoot almost exclusively dual narrowband, and I've developed kind of my own flow of how I do things. For reference, my equipment is an ASI294MC Pro, SVBONY SV503 70ED with the 80ED 0.8x flattener reducer, an Optolong L-Enhance dual narrowband filter, and that is riding on a Skywatcher EQ6-R Pro. So this is an image of the North America and Pelican Nebula that I took in July, and I'll do a quick auto stretch on it. You can already see there's a lot of structure here, and the telltale kind of green cast hue over top of it of dual narrowband. So first thing I start off with is flux calibration in order to do gradient correction. So come down here in spectrophotometric flux calibration and pick the Sony CMOS with the Optolong L-Enhance option here, and it'll do the flux calibration. And once that's finished, go to multi-scale gradient correction. This is the Mars database from PixInsight. And it'll go through and do a gradient correction and do a stretch on the gradient model here. You can see what it actually extracted. So close that out. I'll go to spectrophotometric color calibration next. Again, select L-Enhance because that's the filter that I'm using. And for anyone that is shooting dual narrowband, most of the popular filters are in here: L-Enhance, L-Extreme, L-Ultimate. Kind of one of the more popular dual narrowband filters nowadays is the SVBONY SV220, which is close enough in band pass to the L-Extreme. So for anyone using an SV220, you would select L-Extreme in these options here. And our image turned red because of the color calibration, but we just have to hit the stretch again and it'll turn back to a normal color. So we've got the gradient corrected, it's color calibrated. Now I'm going to go into Blur Exterminator. Skip ahead a little bit because OBS and Blur Exterminator don't really like to coexist. So we're going to go to Noise Exterminator. I'm going to pause for a moment, run Noise Exterminator, and then resume. So it'll skip forward again. Noise Exterminator is complete. That's all the correction we're going to do for now. I'm now going to run Star Exterminator to extract the star field out of the image. Again, going to skip forward. All right, the star field has been extracted. Going to run SETI Astro narrowband RGB star combination. A lot of people think that they need to shoot RGB stars if you shoot narrowband, but you can get close enough to RGB stars with just the narrowband RGB star combination tool here. You see, look close enough to RGB for me, so I always just use narrowband RGB star combination. And that'll make a new star field. So we'll minimize these and move them out of the way. and go over here to our background. And the first thing that I'm noticing is there's a bunch of little halos here because I shoot with a achromatic doublet. It leaves these blue star halos, so I always have to process them out. SETI Astro Blemish Blaster. And just select each one, click execute, and they disappear. All right, and all the blemishes are gone. So next thing is a statistical stretch. Again, SETI Astro. Usually I will flip back and forth between a linked stretch and an unlinked stretch just to see which one I like better. I've already processed this image before, so I remember which one I actually used. You see the linked stretch is mainly red. There's a little bit of kind of greenish in here. And if we unlink it and do a preview, you'll see there's now kind of a green cast, and there's some light red, and there's more blue here in the center. So this is the one that I'm going to use, and what I used when I processed it before was an unlinked stretch. I might tone the target median down just a little bit, just to kind of darken the image overall just a little bit. We'll hit execute. So now what I do is bring up the curves transformation. We'll reset it from last time, pull up a preview, and start playing with curves. And curves are going to be different for everybody. For every image, it's going to be different. You just kind of start playing with the curves and see what you like, what comes out of it. It's kind of a rule of thumb. The bottom part of the curve of the line here affects the whole image, and the top part affects only the bright areas. So if I take this RGBK right here and drag it, the bottom of it downwards, you see the entire image kind of gets darker a little bit. So that's usually where I start first is RGBK, maybe the luminance curve as well, bring it down a little bit. If it looks like there's kind of a bright cast over top of the image, and you'll see if we grab the top of it here, kind of only the parts with structure get brighter in there. There's a lot of blue, green over top of this image. So we'll switch over here to the green curve and bring the bottom of it down just a tiny bit. Bring the blue down. And you see we're kind of getting rid of the overarching hues there. The red's starting to pop out a little bit. The blue is staying here, kind of the teal color, but the overall cast over the image has gone away. So another curve that I like to play with is chroma. Chroma and saturation are very similar to each other. I'm not entirely certain what the difference is between them, but I'll start with chroma and kind of crank it up a little bit, and you'll see those get a little bit more vibrant. Like this is kind of muted, but if you bring the chroma up, those blues got a little more vibrant, the red got a little more vibrant. Speaking of red, we do want to bring the reds up. So I'll bring kind of the bottom up a little bit, and we'll pull out some structure down here in the bottom corner, a little in the bottom right corner here. And then we'll bring the top of the curve up, and you'll see those reds are really starting to pop out now. Again, more chroma. Starting to get really red. You see the The teals and the reds are starting to kind of turn purple a little bit here in the center where the hydrogen and oxygen are mixing in the center of the North American nebula. The red along the Cygnus wall here is getting kind of a real deep color, and along the top of the Pelican over here on the right. So we'll grab the saturation curve, bring it up a little bit, deepen those colors somewhat. Grab the RGBK, see how brightening it up, and bring it down. Just kind of play with it. I kind of like it right about here. Do the same for the luminance, pull it up, make some of those areas pop just a little bit. So actually, I'm satisfied with this here. You know, this isn't supposed to be a detailed process, but you know, this is extremely acceptable. It's very close to what I processed initially the first time I did this. So we're going to accept, and the curve is still applied in the preview, so it turns this kind of oversaturated, blown out color. We'll reset it and then close out the preview. So once the curves on the background have been done, the only thing left to do is pixel math to recombine these stars. So the expression that I use to combine the star mask back into the background mask is tilde, open parenthesis, tilde, the background image, which is called integration. And I can just double click over here to insert it back in there. Asterisk, which is multiply, another tilde, and then the star mask, which is NB to RGB stars. I always like to click parse just to make sure that nothing weird pops out here and any errors or anything like that. Hit OK, and then apply. And you see the stars got applied back into the image. So again, I'm satisfied with this image. It's a great example of what dual narrowband looks like. You have a bunch of reds for the hydrogen alpha, teals for the oxygen 3, and then there's some mixing here in the center, which comes out as kind of like a purple color. There's still a little bit of haloing here, like on this star. That's probably on the star mask itself. But you see the stars are kind of their proper colors from the narrowband RGB star combination. There's a bunch of dust here. And fun fact, the Pelican and the North America are actually one large complex, but this dark lane of dust here is kind of in front of it, so it separates it into the North America and the Pelican here on the right. North America on the left, Pelican on the right. So that is my dual narrowband PixInsight processing tutorial that I use. If you have any questions, leave a comment.